Hey everyone, how's it going? Desi's here with another video, and in this video I want to talk about something a little bit more personal to just my everyday life, which has been just reading in general. I kind of want to talk about just how I got back into reading and how it's really been one of the most enjoyable hobbies that I've just been, I guess, participating in on a daily basis. I'm making this video mostly, for myself as kind of a personal entry of just where I'm at right now, but also if people resonate with what I'm saying, or if people are inquiring in themselves if they're interested in reading of any varying genre, or just reading in general. I think it's a very natural human phenomenon that has been going on for as long as there has been a recorded society. Just storytelling in general, just people verbalizing these fictional or like non-fictional stories to each other and being able to understand a bit more of the human experience through that medium. And I think just looking at society, just a lot of the media that is become the mainstream avenue of consumption is very like stimulating, and it really does kind of enthrall your senses because it's just such a pleasant experience and such an immersive experience too. And as the years pass on, these forms of media and entertainment are going to become even more advanced and even more alluring for what they compel the audience to engage within. And I think just a few examples, and these are things that I have participated in, and I still do, because that's just, it's hard not to, like when you're just surrounded by it every day. And I think the big things are just, your phone, social media, YouTube. Ironically, if you're watching this video, you're on YouTube, you're watching videos, I watch videos. It's fun to listen to other people's thoughts, and it's fun to express yourself too, and that's why I make videos. So that's kind of something that's kind of an existing thing that isn't always good for you in overconsumption, but at a moderate level you can actually learn from YouTube. So I think that's another reason why I still use YouTube on a daily basis, is because I can still learn so much from it and hear other people's insights, and also just kind of explore things that I'm already interested in and hearing, people's opinions on that kind of stuff. But aside from social media, and this is going to be sort of a stream of consciousness ramble sort of video, so if that's something you're not really interested in listening to, then you can definitely feel free to leave the video. But yeah, I'm probably going to not be talking 100% about reading in this video, because I think for my own journey into getting back into reading for pleasure, I think kind of adding my own context to how I ended up in that spot is important for me to, relay my own personal narrative, but also if people resonate with that, to see within their own narrative of if they're enjoying reading now and why that is, and why they're not only doing other sorts of entertainment consumption, and why they're reading in the first place. I think it's interesting to kind of evaluate and look at why we do the things we do. And that's something I make videos about, a video game called EverQuest. I'm wearing an EverQuest hoodie, gotta represent. But I like to talk about this kind of stuff, like why do we play the games we do? Why do we play it the way we do? And I want to talk about reading now. So other forms of entertainment that are just very overstimulating: video games. Video games is a big one, and I think it really depends on the kind of video game as well. A lot of the modern video games that are releasing are typically kind of free-to-play games that have very predatory monetary systems, that they have a very shiny outside surface. Talking about, Fortnite, Marvel Rivals is a new one that a lot of people are playing and talking about. I've played it myself, it's pretty fun, but it's just a very nice aesthetic that kind of keeps you immersed and enjoying the experience on, I think, a superficial level, because you don't have to really put a lot of effort, concentration. I know that's not a real phrase, but it's very easy to get absorbed in it without trying to. And I think that's like an easy kind of consumption of media, and we see that through a lot of different forms of it, whether it's like a TV show, especially short TV shows, where it's kind of, it hits you in bursts and it's easy to consume in short intervals, but with the short intervals it's easy to repeat them. So at the same time you're watching a show the same duration of a movie, but it doesn't feel like it's as long because you're watching it in intervals of stimulation that have complete narratives, while a movie is 2 to 3 hours at some points, maybe an hour and a half long. And it's sort of a continuous narrative that does require some sort of patience and concentration to consume in that way. And so in video games, like I talked about the modern ones, I think they are very similar to that short burst TV show, especially match-based games. I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, where it's like a first-person shooter game and you're playing like 10-minute matches in rapid succession from each other. And it's their own bursts of entertainment, and with that, dopamine. As humans, we want to feel pleasure, we want to feel engaged, and we don't want to sit with our thoughts for too long because it makes us feel uncomfortable having to sit with that. And especially the dreadful feeling that is boredom. And boredom in and of itself, we're always trying to stray away from. And the media that can hijack that feeling away as quickly as possible and with as little effort as possible is something that naturally our brains will be more attracted to because it requires less effort and less work. And we are beings that have evolved to want to survive and to be safe and comfortable. And if we're in a cave full of the things that we need to survive that also create external sources of pleasure, there wouldn't be a reason to leave the cave to, find something else if you didn't have to. And so I think that's the difficult predicament of where we're at in our society, is just very easy means of consumption and like a certain level of discipline and that sense of boredom, the tolerance to it. There's less incentives to choose that path in the media, especially in like Western society. I haven't traveled the world enough to have a very good nuanced perspective of other cultures besides my superficial research of them. And I think with that, my perspective is very much a product of growing up in a Western society, the United States, Midwest United States. So it's definitely biased, and I understand that. I think like reading is something that I think it's becoming more popular again, because I think we're reaching a point, and this might be my biased perspective because I'm immersing myself more towards social media videos and just things on my YouTube algorithm, because I pretty much only use YouTube as a social media. I don't really use any other app for it besides Reddit every once in a while, but I don't really use that much anymore. And I think that's been really helpful for kind of just clearing my mind and not being so clouded by other people's opinions and stuff. But anyways, what was I getting at? I was saying that my algorithm is very biased because I like to consume videos that are related to reading and like fantasy tropes. And I think with that, it kind of gives me the narrative that, oh, there's a lot of people, like most people like to read. Like it's very popular again, like it wasn't before, but now it is because I'm seeing videos about it when it's literally just the algorithm feeding me what I want to see. So I don't even know if reading is more popular than it has been in the past 10 years or so. But my perspective of it is, as a collective culture, we've been kind of leading to this point of complete surrender to online and digital engagement and entertainment as a form of like the meat and potatoes of what we consume on a daily basis and the things that we share in common with other people. And I am growing up in a Gen Z mindset. I am 23 years old, so I've grown up with the internet. It has been something that has been a part of most of my aware life. I do remember as a very young child, like 5, 6, 7, the internet wasn't too much of a concept, to me, besides playing EverQuest. And I think EverQuest is a game where it does require a lot of patience, and it requires a lot of, just slow moments and communication with people and identifying people's strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's the beautiful thing about recognizing the gradients of these forms of online entertainment is it's not all bad. It's not all bad for you. And it all varies in terms of how stimulating it can be. But anyways, kind of the overarching theme of what I'm getting at here is growing up as a kid into my adolescence, going into middle school, high school, being around peers that all kind of are interested in similar things, which for me was like video games, and that was mostly like the central connection was through video games. And without, the like large awareness of it, it's something that kind of led me to, that this is my main form of consumption and pleasure and entertainment is online video games and like shows and watching YouTube, and very much an overstimulating form of entertainment that I only started to realize the past like 2 years or so that it's something that I don't really want to consume as much of and try to detox from it. And I think a really good book that I read like a year and a half ago was called Dopamine Nation. I believe the author's name was like Anna Lembke or something, but she is a Stanford professor of psychology, I believe, and like neuroscience. And the book was just a very nice, intuitive, there's diagrams in it kind of just breaking down pain and pleasure and addiction and just how we consume things for our own gain and to our own detriment that we don't really realize. And I kind of always realize in myself that I have somewhat of an addictive personality. When I get interested in something, I obsess over it, and it's kind of takes up my whole attention, and then after a little bit I'll just drop it and find something else. And I recognize that that was my natural inclination for like this very YouTube channel. I would kind of be interested in making videos for a short burst. I would feel the motivation, and then the motivation would go away, and then I would just kind of let it sit and not really work on it. And that's something that I kind of wanted to prove myself wrong on in terms of this YouTube channel last year, was to kind of build more of a plan and a structure and like kind of like a discipline, just make it something that I want to do, and not rely on just motivation to do the things that I want to do, because I do want to express myself more through my YouTube channel. And I do want to branch out of this, of the videos I've been making, and make more personal videos and kind of more lifestyle oriented videos. That is more of the content that I consume regularly. And so I kind of have my own desire to talk about my own experiences. And if people resonate, that's beautiful. If people don't, that's beautiful as well. Like, that's the beauty of the internet, is we can listen to people if we want to, but we don't have to. And I just want to throw my voice out there, mostly for myself, but also if it can help anyone recognize aspects of their life that they've been maybe thinking about, or just hearing someone else's thoughts. That's always helpful for me. And anyways, this has been a really long segue, but I think that kind of breaks down a lot of the context for leading myself into reading becoming one of my biggest hobbies, like in my personal life, over the past year or so, past like 7 months, I would say actually, realistically. That's exciting for me because it feels like a new thing again, and it feels very nice. Like, I'll just say that I feel way better reading 50 pages of a book than spending that same amount of time scrolling on my phone or playing 2 hours of Marvel Rivals or something. When I finish reading the book for that long and I close it, I feel refreshed, and I feel, just clear-headed, and I feel like I'm processing the emotions of what has happened in the book, if it's a fictional story, or if it's more of a non-fictional, maybe more of a philosophical, which is a fiction in and of itself. It's kind of just creating ideas and systems from what we view as reality to be. and just processing that. And I really feel like I'm expanding my awareness of things, especially in my vocabulary and on an empathetic level as well, just seeing into characters and how they think, and just being able to understand behavioral patterns of how people react to things and what people say in books, and especially from different story to different story, these different universes, how they still web together, because being a human is a very unique experience and there's shared components between all of that. And I think this isn't something that's exclusive to books. Obviously, other forms of media, in art, and pretty much everything, it all has the touch of the human soul and nature in it. But I think that books, for me at least right now, are stimulating enough, and to where it just feels like I'm digging a little bit deeper, and I just really enjoy that feeling. And I really look forward to reading when I have free time. I've been working full time at my new job, and I have an hour in the middle of the day for lunch. I eat my lunch as fast as possible, and then I read for like 45 minutes, and it's like the height of my work day, at least, because it's just a nice reprieve. It feels like a really like healthy outlet, and I don't feel overstimulated, and I don't feel fatigued at the end of it. I feel more refreshed, and I feel more in tune with myself as well, because you're just sitting with yourself and your thoughts, and you're really activating your imagination as well. Like, that's a really big thing. Like, just visualizing the stories when you're reading the words. I know some people have like a neurological condition where they can't visualize the thoughts. I'm not 100% sure what that's called, but that is something some people may have. I think you can still enjoy a book without it, but you're not just reading the lines of the pages. You're not just reading the words. You are building the visual structure in your mind, and you're playing within those bounds, and the words are a guide to your imagination unfolding itself. And it really helps you build that inner structure of what you can visualize. And I think the fun part about it is like recognizing how your imagination is influenced by what you have seen in your life. A lot of what I imagine when I'm reading fantasy books is like watching the Game of Thrones TV show and the Lord of the Rings movies, and I just see a lot of the blueprints of my imagination stem from those visual moments from the shows themselves, and real people that I've met in my life, or characters on shows or movies, and then just my own personal imaginative spin to it, and just how you can really prove yourself wrong in certain ways, and how you can really show yourself that there's more than meets the eye, even within yourself, that there's more than you can imagine than you are really aware of. And reading really shows that to me. It shows me that no matter what, like certain words, certain combinations of certain words, I can create an imagination around those words that I never did before, and I didn't think I could do before. And just to think about the extent to how that can impact you on a personal level day to day, how you think of your own life, what you think is possible for your life, what you think of, your emotions and your thoughts and other people and what they're thinking, and also just your dreams. I think dreams are, it's kind of the subconscious, I don't know, kind of like the Carl Jung, but like the subconscious realm that we're not really always aware of, but the visual patterns in our dreams kind of come out, and those visualizations definitely have to stem from something that we experience in our waking life. And I think reading, our imagination creates these scenes and settings, and I think that can't hurt, to do that in some way. I feel like there's some sort of like growth from doing that in any way. And I like that feeling as well, like I'm growing while I'm doing something that I enjoy. I know this is very rambly, but it's something that I feel very passionate about right now, and I think it's something that I will feel very passionate about for a long time, for probably the rest of my life. And I think one of the big catalysts for this in my own personal life was just graduating college. I graduated last May, and reading up to that point was definitely more of a chore. It was something that I had to do as a means to an end. Say that, like, I had a literature class that I had to read like dystopian novels, and that was actually really interesting. I took the class because it's just that those are one of my favorite forms of literature, is dystopian societies and how it relates to kind of the world we're living in today, and how they can kind of be like wake-up calls in a sense. And the books I really enjoyed. However, the structure of the class was, read to page 118 by tomorrow or by like Thursday. And so reading the book felt more like, it was just something I had to do, and I had to get to this page. And it really zapped the fun out of it. And I think that's the case for most people going through the education system, is reading is kind of conditioned into us being more of a chore and not something that we can have fun with. And I think that's a shame. I really, when I was a kid, I used to read for fun. When I was like 7th grade or so, like when I was like 12 or 13 or something, I do remember like being really engaged in reading for a bit there. And it would kind of show up in pockets throughout my childhood. Like maybe a few months I'd kind of be into reading a series or something, and then I'd just drop it and I'd just play video games, or just consume content that's not really healthy for you, just as a young man growing up. And I think that getting out of the education sphere for, it's been less than a year now, but it's been nice to have that reprieve of reading for the sake of reading, nothing else. I'm not reading because I'm finishing an assignment. Like, I'm reading because this is fun, I feel good about it, and I'm excited to do it. I just feel really grateful to have that connection to reading again, because I think it builds confidence in myself as well, of what I can do. Because a big thing for me was the Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire series. I was gifted the books by my mom when I was like 13, like pretty young for reading those books, but it's like I didn't really touch them. I read the first one when I was 15, which like I read it really quick. I do remember that. And then I kind of fizzled out and didn't really finish the second one. And they were always sitting on my shelf for 10 years pretty much. And it was like June of last year. It was like my reading renaissance. I just decided to pick up the second book where I left off, like halfway through when I was like 15. And I just started reading it in a laundromat when I was waiting for my laundry to be done. And it was a Tyrion chapter, like page 348 or something. And I was like, wow, this is written so well. And it just felt like such a nice experience to read that chapter. I'm like, I'll read the next one, and then I just kept reading it. I'm like, holy shit, I'm almost done with this book. And I always looked at those books as just too long. It's just like, it would take me so long to read it. I kind of looked at it with a defeatist perspective, because I just thought it would, one day I'll read it, but not today. But I just kept reading it day in and day out. And I finished that book and I'm like, all right, let's read the next one. And that was like one of the best books I ever read in my life. A Storm of Swords. Like, whoa, that book is insane. And it was like 950 pages, longest book I ever read in my life at that point. And I didn't realize like how much that built my confidence in like what I could achieve, what I could do, what I could put time into doing, even if it was reading a fantasy book. It's like, yeah, I spent a month reading this book and I finished it. And I think a lot of things in my life, I start and I don't finish. I like get into something, and like I said, I get obsessed with it and then I drop it. I don't finish it. But when it came to reading last year and finishing those books, and I finished the whole series, it's like I felt that accomplishment that I don't usually feel, and like I followed through with something. And I've been riding on that momentum ever since. I read the Mistborn trilogy after that. I read the Southern Reach trilogy. I read the first Stormlight Archive book, and that book was like 1,200 pages. And I'm on the second one now. I'm reading through The Lord of the Rings now for the first time. I just kind of started like last week, and I'm almost done with Fellowship of the Ring. And it just feels so good to just read these stories, and it's so much fun, and I'm so just happy to be doing this for fun. And kind of seeing the reading like YouTube, BookTube community online has been really nice, and just seeing how people can, relate through reading and share connections through these stories. And also Brandon Sanderson, who's the author of The Stormlight Archive and Mistborn and numerous other fantasy books. He has been like making lectures online that you can view on YouTube, and they've just been so inspiring to me, just to want to write myself. And a big goal that I've kind of decided for myself is I want to write a book. I want to write a fantasy book that is something that just feels like it's a fun thing to do. Like, I'm not setting these expectations like I'm writing this piece of literature. But no, I'm going to write kind of like a zombie apocalypse dystopian style fantasy book that kind of takes place in a kind of a Middle Earth kind of narrative. But it was like, say you were playing World of Warcraft and it's like Wrath of the Lich King. I don't know if anyone who's watching this kind of knows that reference, but the Lich King's like this big evil, god, like god of the zombies, pretty much, the Scourge. And he was, trying to take over the world with zombies. But imagine that actually came to fruition, and he took over everything. And the little pockets of civilization that's left in various cultures and communities of different races and religions and stuff, kind of like, what are they gonna do to survive, So that's kind of what I'm feeling in my book. I just started it, so I'm not too far into it, but yeah, it feels good to have that creative outlet as well. Not just an outlet of like just reading for the consumption and pleasure, but also writing and creating. And it's like a yin and yang kind of thing. Like, you can't have reading without writing. You can't have writing without reading. I've just been having a good time, and I want to make a video just to share my thoughts, share my where I'm at in life right now with regards to that kind of stuff. And if you're still watching this video, what's up? Thank you so much for watching for this long. You're awesome. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comment section. If you read for fun, or you're kind of thinking about picking it up as a hobby, but you're not really feeling too sure about it, I'd say if you're having any thoughts about it, like, take the plunge. Like, pick a book that seems so interesting to you, and maybe pick it up at the library. You don't have to spend anything, or order it on Amazon, and maybe it's on sale. Like, books are pretty cheap, but they are hours and hours of entertainment and insight. Yeah, anyways, that's it for me for today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Much love, everyone. Peace.